Hey everybody, it is Cynthia Maynard. Thanks so much for joining me. Still getting over my cold, but I wanted to share with you a project that is this slimline journal. And before we flip through that, I just wanted to show you how that came about. So I print two different kinds of papers. So whether I design papers myself, like in this case here, this is my watercolor florals, and then I turn it into digital paper. So if I make a regular size file, like meaning not a full length 8.5 journal page, which sometimes I do, and then the whole thing's filled up. But sometimes I make this size and it prints out like this if you do the full page on your printer. And so you just have this margin, and it's about 8.5 by 8.5. What's nice, let me zoom out here just, wrong way, just a tad. It works out perfectly. I was making a journal, which is not finished yet. A little sneaky peek here. It's roughly 5 by 7, and I was working on that, and I had these offcuts. So for example, I started with a piece of paper like this, and I cut 5 inches in and then 7. And I was left with a strip of paper like this. And I had a whole bunch of those because I was making pages for my 5 by 7 book. So what I did with those, I had a stack of these. I trimmed these bits off here, rounded the corners, and turned them into a little slimline journal. And I love how it turned out. So I thought this one's finished and in the shop. As of today, it's still available. I just loaded it, I think, a day or two ago. But the theme, we're watching Pride and Prejudice right now, and so I had made this little dance card, Regency era dance card, and this is a mix of my papers and Prima papers. So I kind of took what I had lying around, I bound it with the twine here, and I made this little bead dangle out of some a fabric bead and some other little beads, and then I hooked that on there, and I made it so people could add to this, okay, and they could detach this bead dangle as well and use it in other ways if they so choose. So here's the front cover. This is Prima paper here, and then my dance card. And then you open it up. Maybe I'll zoom back in. Let's see the best way to do this. Oop. Prima and Graphic 45, so I thought that went really well with that. So you could add papers, glue some little tea papers or something on there, and like for example, got some extra tea stain paper here. You can rip some off of that, glue it on, and do some journaling, or pictures or what have you. Then here, this is my paper here and my paper here. Here I took die cut some of that tea stained paper and that nice shape, and then glued a die cut on there that's been inked, and then you can journal there, journal there. Next page here is Prima paper and my paper. And then I made a little pocket. I had one of these, it's a Prima chipboard that I've had in my stash I'm running into my tripod, sorry about that. It's like no good way to do that, but it's a lovely little bottle there. I have that forever. I have a little pocket there with some little tickets and music paper, die cuts, and things you could tuck whatever in there, little notes. I have these little tabs that I cut out of my scraps, so it's kind of like you use all of it at once. My paper, and this is a Tim Holtz die, and then I tucked into that these tiny little Daisy May design tags. I think I've used those in other videos out of just leftover bits of paper, and then I had a little die cut I had made about just some typography, and then some extra little strips glued on there. A little butterfly from a butterfly punch out of some scrap. And let's see here, Prima and Prima, and then my little scrap there, and some washi. This is a Spellbinders die that goes with this set. I was originally going to put this die on the front cover, and I'm going to actually use it for this journal. So this comes from the one that makes this really pretty frame, so to speak, and so I'm going to put this on the front of this journal. That'll be in a future video, but I had this piece that I had cut out of copper, so I thought that went nicely there, so a nice journaling spot. I love the stripes, very, very pretty. My paper, and Prima. And a scrap of my little butterfly there, and more journaling spots, and I just kind of tore paper and glued it. Fun, fun. And then the back is my paper. So, well, coffee stain there. So, fun little slimline. It measures, if you want to know that, 3.5 by 8.5. So, like I said, it's the length of this page here, and then these are just the offcuts, and I rounded the corners. So easy to make, fun to decorate. I mean, it takes time to do it, but they're not hard per se, you know, the method's not hard. Lots of fun, and I really love how it turned out, and the different textures, and just easy to use on its own, or you could pop it into a larger junk journal. It's, you know, you could easily chunk out by adding more things to these. I made it so that you could add just punch holes in whatever your paper is and add it to that, or glue things in. And yeah, wanted to share that with you. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. Thanks, have a great day.